Peace, peace. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. We back. Got my guy Sim in the building.
What's popping, bro?
What's good, Sim?
Good,
Appreciate
man.
you
Good.
jumping on with me.
No doubt about it.
Man, I've been slacking. I miss doing my show, but life has you know, taken its course. But I'm glad to be back. The season's upon us. Next week it'll be media day. Be all sorts of things for us to break down and talk about. And then the games start, and we got the cook off the season. How you say it? The
Kick off,
cookout.
cookout. Kick off, cookout.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kickoff cookout. Looking forward to that. Gonna have a
Mind if I
nice
share the
family
logo?
effort. Absolutely. Throw it up there.
Um, I was thinking about when kick off, cookout, making the K, the C, and cook out a K, but it looked a little weird because then it had three Ks in it, and I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? That might be a little bit too much for some people. So I decided not to do it that way. But
Gotta
um,
protect the bread, man.
you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But we would love for people to join us right here.
Oh,
Kick off cookout.
all right.
Big K's in there anyway, so I guess I don't know. But kick off cookout, ladies and gentlemen. And there's even gonna be shirts available, so you can get a NBK kickoff cookout
T-shirt.
t-shirt. But make sure that you join us October the 7th. It's gonna be dope. We're gonna have a great time. Just Knicks fans and family. It's a family friendly event, getting together, talking Knicks. Um, we're gonna do a live podcast, all of that, man. So
Little
yeah,
basketball game or whatever.
some basketball games for the kids. You can do some fishing if you want to. You know what I mean? Might be a little bit chilly, so dress warm and all that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second one too.
Yeah,
So
right.
couple things I want to talk about. Let me see where I want to start. I was looking at one of the Nick blogs or whatever, and they had this little news segment where Rick Carlisle that's his name, Rick Carlisle, the Pacers coach. He did a Q&A,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked him about Obi Toppin, and he called him one of the best transition players in the world.
Mm.
Um, just out the blue, threw me for a loop. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's him hyping his new player up. You know what I mean? Or does he really believe it? I don't know. What do you think? you think he's hyping his player up? I mean, we seen him 3 years, 4 years, whatever it was. He's good
Um,
in transition.
yeah.
I mean, running the break, I'll say. I don't know about necessarily leading the transition.
I think that Rick Carlisle is giving a vote of confidence to Obi, right? Making sure that Obi probably felt a little um thrown to the side in New York. So, with Rick Carlisle saying these type of things, he gives Obi that confidence, like, yeah, okay, he rocks with me. You know what I'm saying? He's riding with me, so that he comes into camp feeling confident. You know, we all know that. I mean, he might be one of the great transition players in in the world. And who knows? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's got speed, he can jump, you know, um, and all of those things. So, he could be. That said, he didn't say, he's one of your best shot creators. He didn't say he's one of your best facilitators or rebounders. He said transition. It kind of kept it there.
That's a fact.
If what we are hearing is correct with what he said, right? Said transition and kept it there. I think we all knew that though. He was a really good transition player. You know what I mean?
Focus on the strengths.
Right. Focus on the strength. Now, the thing with Obi is, can he go to another level and be more than just a transition guy? That's that's the thing with Obi. Everybody knows he can run, jump, and dunk. Can he? But can he take his game to another level?
Facts. Um, I just had to throw that out there. I thought it was funny. Another thing that I heard, um, on one of these podcasts, I think it was Low, the Low, the Low Pod,
Hmm.
Zach Lowe, and he just threw it out there. Wasn't really anything. It was just something he said, kept going, but he says Obi is the presumed starting power forward. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they're gonna start him?
Um.
Um, I know they just brought another young power forward in the
Right.
draft.
Right. I think they probably will start him. I think so. I think he'll start. I think uh it's well, let's say this. I think it's probably his position to lose.
Okay,
I'd say that.
okay. I'll say this, and I'm getting off Obi. um, I think his best opportunities will be shared on the court with Halliburton. So whether he starts or not, I think the most minutes that he should play should be shared with Halliburton. And I think that's a guy that'll probably get the best out of him, um, considering his passing ability and his you know, he'll be looking for him more often than not. You know what I mean? So if he's running the floor, he ain't gonna miss him on an open lob, on a fast break, you know, things like that. So good luck to Obi, man. Next thing I want to talk about, there's gonna be I mean, the Knicks are considering somewhat of a reunion of some old faces. It's not mellow. Don't get too excited. Sis. It's not mellow. um, there's been talks about road games and Van Gundy and Mark Jackson broadcasting the Knicks games on the road. You know, so Clyde don't gotta do them travel games.
Right.
Um, they both got let go from ESPN, I believe. That's who they were
Mhm.
broadcasting for. I always was a fan of the games they broadcast together. I thought they had some of the best chemistry as far as on that broadcasting stage, going back and forth, the little inside jokes, um, the way they just spoke to each other about each other. Um, and then both former Knicks. I love the idea. I love the idea of bringing them back and you know setting them up for the future. You know what I mean? Once Clyde is retired from that part and having them in here full time. What's your thoughts of that reunion? How do you feel about them as a duo? In comparison to some of the other broadcasters throughout the league, or games you've watched.
Um, I think they're a great duo. You know what I mean? And of course, I think Knicks fans will love to hear from them. You know, um, not hear from them, but hear them on the broadcast and everything, because I think they work well together. They understand New York. Both of them, Mark Jackson both of them from New York State, but Mark Jackson from New York City. Jeff Van Gundy is from Rochester, but coached the Knicks. Mark Jackson played for the Knicks. You know what I mean? Can you find a better duo for real to broadcast Knicks games? I think it's great. Obviously, people are going to be calling for Mark Jackson to coach the Knicks at some point, and maybe even Jeff Van Gundy, one head coach, coach. Who
I
knows?
was
Like,
I,
people should be scared. Like,
I
oh,
was
wait a minute, they got these guys back here analyzing me.
I
You
was
know?
going there next. Sim. I was going there next. I mean, you mentioned it. I wasn't. I mean, I think there's a bunch of different angles to look at it. I thought that could be a potential narrative with these guys, being seen. on the road games by fans, that'll spark up that conversation, especially if we're losing, or Tibbs is having a bad coaching game here and there, whatever the case.
Yeah, I can
So
hear
so I
man.
could definitely hear the rumblings.
I can hear
Um,
fans now at the games. Get Mark Jackson out there. He's sitting right next to Ted Van Gundy. Get him out there.
but I'll
Oh,
take a different angle or
you know,
different approach on it.
right.
What do you think of them being right there and being able to give some insight, some foresight, or what I mean? Van Gundy has a professional personal relationship with Tibbs, so there's that. I don't know how well Mark Jackson is as far as relationship wise with Tibbs, but the fact that they're gonna be right there, potentially on the team playing, so you know what I mean, on some of these games and things of that nature, they're right there. That could potentially help
It
Tibbs.
could. It could. It could. Um, I think it could potentially help Tibbs. Now, I mean, they'd be employees of Madison Square Garden, right? So I don't think there's anything preventing them from. Is there anything that prevents them? I don't know. Like, when I say that, I'm saying like, uh, is there anything ethically that prevents them from giving
Giving intake, uh,
right
I don't think so.
insight?
I don't think so. I mean, not on the sidelines, but on the team playing. You know what I mean? On I would think if they traveling with the team on these road games,
Mhm.
I would think those two guys would be sitting somewhere next to Thibodeau,
Right.
as opposed to like in the mix of players or in another section. You know what I mean? So I would think that would be the prime opportunity to have some discussions about what you see, you know, which something Tibbs might not see. I could see it only as a blessing, especially if they're traveling with the team, which I don't see why they wouldn't, being employees of MSG, not employees of ESPN or some other network covering the game.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, um, there's definitely going to be a lot of people calling for either one of those guys to take over the reins. I don't think either. I don't think either one will. I know Mark Jackson wants to get back into coaching. I'm not sure about Jeff Van Gundy. Um,
And shout out to
it's gonna be funny. It's gonna
DJ Shadow in the building. Appreciate you. He says, Tibbs not bringing anyone high profile. Like, well, I mean, we're talking about on an announcing. I mean, as announcing the road games.
right.
So I don't know if Tibbs could really object to that. Now he may, if what you're saying, he may object to them traveling with the team, but I don't see it. I only see it as some more conversation, for Tibbs. Unless he's deep in his iPad breaking down film and don't want to be have a conversation, which could be possible.
Yeah. Nah, that I think that's gonna be fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna be
hope they get the gig. I
Yeah,
hope
I
they
hope
get the
so too.
gig.
Hope so too.
I think that would be amazing. And the Knicks, I mean, say what you will. I'm about to transition into James Dolan. Say what you will about James Dolan. For the most part, you know what I mean? Oakley excluded. He takes care of former Knicks employees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I could definitely see that happening. Um James Dolan, he came out recently in some interview, talked about how he's not really he doesn't really enjoy owning sports teams.
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't go crazy and get.
Especially the Knicks.
I'm glad it didn't go crazy. You know what I mean? And I thought it was gonna go crazy because he came out and just said anything. Any thoughts of that? I just wish he didn't say it. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about it right now, but I'm glad it didn't go crazy with the media. But it seemed like he just can't get out of his own way sometimes. So he's doing so good, just staying out of the public eye. You know what I mean? Thank God we're doing good and we're winning right now. Because
Mhm.
had it been a non-playoff season and then he said this, I
Right,
think it would have picked up
right.
steam. But what was your thoughts on it? Was you as nervous as I was
Um,
where you read it? Like, oh boy, I don't know if you even mentioned it in any shows or not, but I thought it was gonna go crazy out there. What was your thoughts?
you know, I don't know. I thought he was being honest, about just how he feels in owning sports teams in New York. I thought he was being honest. I didn't think that he said anything uh that would make the fans upset. I guess part of his quote, was about how, if a fan says sell the team, that's offending a Garden employee. You know what I mean? I guess some people could. I think people are used to it now, so they're like, okay, whatever.
Well, I just thought you was gonna hear even more rumbles of okay, then sell the team. You know
Right,
what I mean? Like that's what we asking for. You
right.
don't enjoy it. We don't enjoy you. But I'm glad it didn't bubble into something
Yeah, I
crazy.
think I think people know the dude's not selling the team. You know what I mean?
Make you too much money.
Yeah, people are like, nah, he ain't selling the team. So I'm gonna stop wasting my breath on it because he ain't selling them.
um, I'm about to transition right into this quickly thing. Um, a spirited, debate or whatever. We have a little bit of a difference of opinion as far as um what route we. Well, I don't know. Are you saying what you think the Knicks will do, or what you would do if you were the Knicks when you say the extension thing? And let me shout out the chat again. Um,
Yeah.
Shadow, he said he misunderstood. He thought I meant on the bench, and he could definitely see him chopping it up on a chain. Salute to you, all aboard, my brother. Nah, go ahead, son.
Um, I'm with the quickly thing. I'm more saying what I would do.
What you would do?
Yeah, I'd want it to go unless I can I get what I feel is a really really good deal. You know what I mean? That I'm like, you know what, this is gonna be this is really team friendly. It's good for the team. Other than that, I'd go to restricted free agency because I don't think you understand the worth of quickly right now.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Um, and so now he can go out, quickly can go out and get the best contract possible. So it works for quickly as well. The thing is injury, right? If he suffers an injury, then you know what I mean? It doesn't work out for him.
Mhm.
Um, so I think, yeah, but I think as long as he's healthy, stays healthy throughout the season, it works out for both of them because now he can go out and negotiate the best deal possible, right? And then bring it to the Knicks and say, now you either want me or not. You know what I'm saying? You want me, then you pay the money. This team is willing to offer me boom, boom, and boom.
Mm. Um, Shout out to Andy. He said trade IQ. I know he joking, but he tried to push my buttons. I see what you're doing, Andy. Uh, the the reason I forgot who did someone that somebody did a video talking about the percentage, the salary percentage, and how you're gonna have to start looking at salary percentage
Mhm.
of players as opposed to like the actual dollar amount. right? Um, and for some reason, like I start doing that now when I look at these contracts and how they broken down,
Mhm.
and then I look at the track history of I mean the Knicks just figuring out ways to re-sign or sign players to these contracts that the majority or a lot of the fans kind of look at as a bad contract initially. Like it's happened time and time again where we look, I don't know if he's worth this amount. I don't know. But then we look at the structuring of the contract and you know what I mean, the incentive or the options in the contract, and it ends up being better than what we initially thought. So
Right.
I feel like they can do something in that vein. He wants 100 million, 4 years, 100 million. I think a shout out to 19 comment. He said it. I was thinking 120, but even 115, what I mean, for 5 years, where that average gets to 23 million. 23 million is a little. I mean, even if you start them at 25, make it descend, whatever way they structure it, maybe that fifth year is the big one. So maybe that is like 28, but everything else is like working its way up. I think they could figure it out, and then and that fifth year be a team option. You know what I mean? Maybe the fourth year be a player option. I think there's ways to get it done now and it not be a detriment. If he does 25 million a year, that ends up being 16%, I think, of the salary cap. Um, and then if it's 25 flat rate, 4 years, 25, that 16% of the salary cap is gonna decrease each year as the salary cap goes up. So it'll end up being 16 at the end of the 4 years. It'll end up being like 13 or 12%.
Mm.
You know what I mean? At that, if it just stays at 25, 25, 25, but the salary goes up 10% every year,
Right.
you know what I mean? It ends up being a better deal in the long run anyway. I think even quickly at 22, 20, 25, I think you taking a chance at that base salary just because you're taking a chance of his value reaching that. I think it will, but it is a risk. Similar to like a Hero right now. How many teams are gonna want to pay him? Pay trade for him at that rate? I think they will, but I understand the argument that people won't.
I think
But I just think,
also,
huh?
I,
Go
you
ahead.
know, I also think I think they have to. I guess they have to factor in how much does quickly, does he want to stay with the Knicks in a backup role, or is he going to have a chance to be a starter? I just think that's going to be important for quickly. You know what I mean? Because I think he wants to be a starter in the league, and if he says, "Listen, I want to be a starter," at some point,
Hmm.
when is that point? Is he saying he wants to be a starter as soon as possible, or is he willing to wait another couple of years? And I'm not saying he's going to be a starter with the Knicks,
Exactly.
but if he's not worried about being a starter right now, right now, then maybe he's willing to take that trade and say, yeah, I could play with the Knicks for a couple of years, and then maybe they trade me so I could become a starter someplace, right? Because if he signs that extension, then it's a little bit tougher for the Knicks to trade him at the trade deadline or you know until the season is over, right? You know what I'm saying? So he has to be committed to coming off the bench this year,
Hmm.
which he probably is because he wouldn't be a restricted free agent until the summer anyway. Right?
Exactly.
So
So
he
he
has
had no choice for this year.
right, but then with the Knicks, it makes it a little tougher to trade him if somebody becomes available, it's tougher to trade them at the trade deadline
I
because
agree
of
with
the
that.
poison pill. Because of the
I,
poison pill.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? So that's something they got to take into consideration as well. Now, after the season is over, that poison pill is done, right? So now you can trade them. You know,
It's
you could trade him straight up if you have to, and whoever he gets traded to has got him locked down for 4 years or whatever it is.
so I guess here's the dilemma. Is quickly our most valuable trade asset, and so I'm saying, is does Grimes' value make up for us not being able? Because let's just say it takes quickly, we extend them, it takes them off the table for a trade this year. Let's just say that, you know what I mean, similar to RJ, because of that poison pill, it's going to be very difficult. So let's just say it takes him off the table. Does any other player on our team make up for quickly not being able to be put into a deal? Is quickly going to be a deal breaker in any potential move moving forward, or does Grimes hold that same type of value? Does that make RJ have to be uh, a vital piece? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the way I'm looking at it. I think we still have enough young talent that somebody could fill in for that, for quickly not being able to be included in whatever trade that is.
Uh, so does Grimes or someone make up that value?
Or is not, or is quickly the deal breaker for the other team? Oh, we can't have quickly. Nah, we ain't doing said trade.
Yeah, I think quickly for well, I guess it depends on who else is being traded, right? So if depends on who else is being traded. I think quickly though would be a big piece to a trade.
So,
Especially if yeah, I think he would be a big piece to a trade.
but is he a deal breaker because he essentially can't be moved? Because that's essentially, that's the decision you're making. You're taking quickly by extending him. We're saying he's off the table for a trade this year,
Mhm.
right? So now we're looking at whatever trade that we're gonna make this year, because quickly can't be involved in it. Does that become a deal breaker to that other team,
Well,
or
I
can
think
we supplement it with whatever it is, the draft pick, which I think we have, a different young player, Grimes,
mhm,
um, I mean, DiVincenzo, if you will, like whatever it takes. I think we still have what it would take to pull off whatever trade that is. The
right.
only thing I think that where the quickly thing hurts us, let's say we were gonna do the OG trade, a smaller move.
Mhm,
Let's say we were gonna do a Bondanovich trade.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where it hurt. Excuse me, it hurts us not being able to trade quickly. But the big move, Giannis, Embiid, Mitchell, Mitchell might be tricky. But the bigs, I think we'll still have whatever it is to supplement for not being able to include quickly. That makes sense to you?
it makes sense. But I mean, quickly can still be traded. The Knicks just have to find. It's just tougher. The Knicks got to find a team.
Under the cap, pretty much.
Like the team has to be willing to take back more than maybe they're sending out, or it's got to be. You got to add multiple players. So, like, let's say the team that's taking on quickly, they have to take back 15 million, even though he's only making 4 million or whatever, 6 million. 6 million, I think it is. Let's say they have to take back 15 million, right? That means that the Knicks have to put in another player that makes more than quickly, Evan Fournier, right? And then they have to put in a player that makes, 6 million. So that matches Quickly's, and then Fournier matches so you got to put pieces in to make it work because they're taking back 15 million. They've got to send out, they're taking back 15 million. They're probably hoping that they can attach a player, uh, to send someplace else so that, they can eat up that salary and make it all work so that they're not
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
not more
If
money.
they don't have the cap space, a third team will have to have the cap space to
Yeah,
absorb salary.
right. And then the Knicks or someone would have to send money, send draft picks or whatever to that other team, to that third team to make it all work. So it just makes it a little bit more difficult if a team really, really, really wants Quickly. Then the
They would
Knicks
have to
might put
figure it
it
out.
on that team and say, "Well, go find someone who's willing to take some money, to make it work. To go find somebody who has salary cap space and they're willing to, eat this or eat that to make it work." The Knicks might put it on that team if they
I
really
mean,
want Quickly.
and depending on what the trade is. So, for instance,
Right.
if it's Giannis, all right, now we're not putting on you. We're gonna help you look and figure this thing out together. You know what I mean? If it's an Embiid, we're
Oh,
gonna figure this thing out together. You know what I
right,
mean? Now, if
right,
it's a
right, right.
smaller trade,
Smaller
obviously,
trade, yeah.
you know what I mean. Yeah, we put the onus on them. So, but that's why I think you get it. They get it done, and I think just recently that's what they've been doing. You know what I mean? They did the RJ thing, which there was a little turmoil behind it. You know what I mean? A couple early on, like, oh, that's the reason we couldn't. You know what I mean? Like once they did that, we couldn't because the Donovan Mitchell trade happened what 2 days after, day after. So it
Right,
was almost like once the Knicks did that, they went in the other direction.
right.
So I get some people's and not saying that's how you looking at it, but I know it becomes difficult. I don't think it becomes that serious. You know what I mean? Because I don't, even though I think he is our highest value trade piece, I also think his value is way higher than his contract. So when you don't extend him, you're more than likely not moving him this year anyway. And if you are, you're only doing it while including a Fournier. So even that deal doesn't become a huge deal. But what do you think of that? Like revisiting the OG thing or a Boban if you're attaching Fournier with Quickly and going after one of those two guys.
Say that again?
Essentially trading Quickly now included with Fournier
Mhm.
and going after like OG or Boban. Let's say it doesn't include any draft picks
Right,
or it's just second round picks as opposed to
right.
first round picks. What do
Uh,
you think of pursuing those? And then because remember, you trade for either one of those guys, you can still trade them again.
mhm.
It's not like a signed player where you got to wait a whole year to trade them again. So you still have them as assets moving forward. You know what I mean? If another big trade comes along,
Uh, Man. I mean, hmm. I guess that would be a trade that I would wanna do at the deadline, right? And the reason why I say that is because or I'd wanna make a decision on that trade at the deadline, let me say that, because I wanna see, like we were discussing earlier, when Andy was saying that Dante DiVincenzo is well, Andy wasn't saying that. Andy wasn't saying that, but we were making a comparison of Dante DiVincenzo and Immanuel Quickley. As far as his like the salary, Immanuel Quickley's salary. Some people in the chat were saying that Dante is a replacement for Quickley or makes Immanuel Quickley expendable,
expendable.
right? What I want to see is how good is Immanuel Quickley right now this season, And does Dante, is there a gap between those two players? Because if there's a gap between those two players and the production that they give the Knicks, you might look at it and say he doesn't make Quickly expendable. If there's not a gap and they are roughly the same player,
He
then
becomes
he does
expendable.
make him expendable. You know what I'm saying? And so I guess I would want to see, is there a big gap? And then of course you got to factor in the age difference between the two players, upside, all that kind of stuff. But I
Hmm.
think I want to add that into the mix, right? Is there a big gap between the two players? How
I
much
mean, that's
How much did Quentin Grimes grow? You know what I'm saying?
so to me, and this is gonna be something I'm gonna be looking for in these games is if I'm looking for the gap, it's at that ball handling. Can DiVincenzo handle the ball? Can he play point guard duty? You know what I mean? Can he run the backup point? Because we've seen what Quickly can do. We know he can do it, and we know he can fill in the starting position at the point guard. You know what I mean? So to me, that's the only area that I'm looking for, or that's the biggest area I'm looking for in that gap. We know we're not going to get that from Grimes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Can we get that from DiVincenzo? Um, we've seen Hart do it a little bit, but I think we'll see that a whole lot less because we're gonna need him backing up the three and backing up the four some as things stand right now. So I think that's where that gap part. So what are you looking for when you're looking for the gap between those two players? Or what would be your areas to look at?
Um, I want to see obviously consistency, right? Who's going to be who's up and down, who's consistent, night in, night out. Um, Defense, who makes a bigger impact defensively, and then of course offensively, who's efficient, and who's a little more, who's prolific. You know what I mean? Um, who can knock down the three ball? They both shot like 37%. Does IQ take another step up? Can IQ play a little more off the ball if need be? Which we've seen that he can. How do they fit within the two teams? So, I mean, there's a lot of things to look at when you compare them and if one is a replacement for the other. And I do think, that DiVincenzo playing some of that point guard role is one of those things that you got to look at because if not, then you don't have someone that can play backup point guard, really. Because right now it is Immanuel Quickley, right? Quickly is the guy that can play backup point guard. So I think like, there's a lot of things you got to look at, when you make that determination if Quickly is expendable or not.
Yeah, for me, yeah, I agree. Because for me, I feel like on a head-to-head level, I'm looking at DiVincenzo and I'm looking at Grimes. You know what I mean? Like those are the guys. But if DiVincenzo could come in and run some backup point guard duty, he's opening up the floor now to more roles. You know what I mean? I think Grimes is limited in his roles as what he could do for us. I mean, I think he could play a little bit two and three, but you know what I mean. DiVincenzo, if he can move to that point guard, now we talking about him playing some one, some two, and some three potentially on different lineups and different roles. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. I think he gets his extension. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fifth year to incentivize him. Um, it does take him off the table. And oh, did you answer me about the Oh, you said mid season, mid season as far as OG and Boban
Yeah, yeah,
or
something
trade
like
trade
that.
trade deadline.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, because I just want to get more,
that makes
you
sense.
know, I just need more intel, I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah, because if DiVincenzo can play that point, that opens things up. Now you could go after some guys with some height, some size. You know what I mean? Obviously OG lockdown defender type. Boban would be another offensive weapon. I think he would make up for that part of quickly being gone, and
Mm.
then OG would make up or exceed defensively what quickly brings if he's the guy that we replace him. And then I think both of those guys' value would be just as valuable as a extended quickly moving forward. You know what I mean? The only thing with OG is this is last year. He's in the same position as quickly right now, right?
I don't know.
Or he
Oh,
has an extra year. He has 2 years.
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure Boban has 2 years. But yeah, that was my little couple topics to talk about, man. Definitely back. Good to be back on the circuit. Definitely be back next
And
Monday. I ain't missing media day. Media day. I'm
so
sure there's gonna be.
is
Is
media
it
day
Monday?
Monday?
It's not Monday. I thought it was.
I don't know. I haven't seen anything about media day yet. I mean, probably is. I just haven't seen anything about media day.
Well, I'm expecting it to be to be hopefully. We've been real dry on some content or some information and things to talk about. So
About it. Tell me about it. Super
we,
dry.
we definitely the season's almost here though. We ready to go. Got the cook off the kickoff cookout coming.
Yeah,
Looking
man.
forward to that, man. That's
Oh,
gonna be
look
fun.
out. Yeah, that's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope. You know what I mean? We keep on putting these events together. They might start off small, right? They might start off small, but then they end up growing, getting bigger and bigger, bigger and better. You know what I mean? We did the summer cookout, and now we're having the kickoff cookout, and we're planning on, kind of rocking with these two, um,
Things annually.
these two things annually, as they grow, get bigger and better. So we want y'all to join. We want y'all to be a part of it. And I'm going to put a link in the chat for that kickoff cookout right now so that you can register. Come join us as we kick off the season. Again, we're gonna play some basketball, right? Some basketball games, some maybe shooting tournaments or whatever. We're gonna do some there'll be games there for the kids because it is a family friendly event. We'll do some podcasting. You can go fishing if you want to. You can do some boating or whatever in the Hudson River. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be a dope time. You know what I mean? So we want y'all to be there with us. Join us. You know what I mean? So here's the link, putting the link in the chat right now where you can join us at the kickoff cookout and you know, come have a good time with us, man. Kick off the season with Knicks fans. How much better can you get than that? Kicking off the season with Knicks fans.
Yeah. Um. Before we get out of here, DiVincenzo, what do
Yeah.
you what besides the whether he could run some backup point or whatever? What other things are you looking to see from him? I know you said consistency, or let me rephrase it. What are your thoughts on the chances of him having a breakout season? You mentioned 27 years old. I mean, I would think that's closer to the prime than you know, looking for like a learning curve or whatever the case. We talked about his role at other teams. I've mentioned his injuries, which I think that definitely set him back a lot throughout his brief career.
Mhm.
Do
Uh,
you are your expectations kind of like what his averages have been, and you're okay with that, or are you looking for, is there going to be some type of elevation in his game? And this is assuming health, because I think, like I said, injuries have been a big part of limiting what he's been able to do.
Right.
But you spoke about, you wanted us to draft him. You really liked him early on in his career, and so can you just speak on that real quick before we get out of here?
I would like to see. First of all, I want to see the quick trigger, right? Um, he's I think that's one of the strengths that he has, is that he has a really, he can shoot the ball, quick off of his fingertips. I think Immanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, I think they still take a split second before they let it go. You know what I mean? So I would really like to see him get the ball off his fingertips quick. I want to see the basketball IQ that he has, right? Because I do think he's a high IQ basketball player. So I want to see how that impacts the team. Like, does him having a high basketball IQ just like add to the team? You know what I'm saying? Does it add to um the overall production of the team because we're smarter now and you have players on the floor like people were complaining one game about Jalen Brunson being an inbounder. I think it was, right?
That
And
was me too. I
and
was one of those.
oh, you want it. And then we've seen a couple games later why, right? When he had when some other people inbound the ball, we've seen why Jalen Brunson was inbounding the basketball. You know what I'm saying? And so it's little things like that that make a difference out there in the game. And um, does he add to those little things? Does he add to your toolbox where now you can have Dante DiVincenzo inbound the ball, Jalen Brunson off the ball, so now he can get it in position to score. Things like that, which those little things can really, really impact your team. You know what I'm saying? Can really impact your team. So I want to see how his fit impacts the team and does it elevate the team because people always they always want the star and think the star is who is going to take you to the next level. And sometimes those little pieces
Hmm.
actually do help you get to the next level because just that little bit of scoring from that one player, even though it's 9 points, that little bit of scoring takes the ball out of Brunson's hands a little bit. Means Julius Randle doesn't have to score as much. Means RJ doesn't have to score as much. The little, the small ability, the ability he has to shoot quickly off the dribble or catch and shoot, right? Now means it's consistent. If he's consistent from the 3-point line, now it means we have an extra shooter that spreads the floor, right?
Right.
Or when we get in those tight situations, we got so many shooters now that somebody's always going to be hot, and you just got the hot hand on the floor that's knocking it down from the 3-point line, and all of a sudden the offense opens up a little bit more.
I
Whether it's,
might He might make the difference between a two possession game and a one possession
right,
game.
those
Yeah.
little things might, sometimes they really do add to your team and change your team and make your team that much better. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything. But sometimes it really does fit well and make your team better. You know what I mean?
No, that was a great point, man. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I didn't really factor that in with my my thoughts on the difference between them. But he's definitely a high IQ player. IQ himself has to work on that at times. I think he's
Mhm.
gotten a lot better at it. But that goes to that whole experience and being closer to your prime than said IQ is. So
Right.
that's a great point,
And
man.
he's kind of like a, do I want to say, natural high IQ player,
Yeah.
right? Natural, is like he's really like some things come natural for him, I guess, is what I want to say.
And similar to Josh Hart, affects winning. You know what I mean? Like impacts winning. So and has that same type of hustle in him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Diving out of bounds, diving for loose balls, whatever. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun season, man. I think we have a lot of internal competitions. You know what I mean. Probably this is gonna be the most competitive team as far as like practices going back. They got somebody to line up with everybody except Randall right now. I'm hoping I'm hoping Knight could at least give Julius some tough practices out there, or Sims could, you know what I mean, use that strength against Randall to make him work. That's my only concern. Who steel sharpens steel. Who's gonna be out there battling Randall to get him better night in and night out? You know what I mean? That I think everybody else has a guy to kind of go to war with in practices day in and day out. Who's Randall's guy to go to war with and sharpen his steel?
Yeah.
I think Knight's the closest guy who physically matches up. And he was a defensive guy, in college, coming out of college. So there's always that.
Yeah.
But
Um.
yeah, anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Oh. Oh man, I'm just excited that this season is back. You know what I mean? Um. I'm just excited.
Yeah, me too, bro. It's around the corner, man. This year kind of flew by, man. It's flying by.
It is. It's flying by. Um. The season. I mean, listen, the season. We'll be playing basketball. The Knicks will be playing basketball, preseason basketball, in a week and a half. In a week
Yes,
and a
sir.
half. You know what I mean? So
Shout out to the chat, man. I miss you guys. I'm gonna be back because the season's back. So consistency is the key.
yeah,
Uh HP Carlos, he says 50 wins. You know what else that means? That's 50 losers lounge.
50
Losers
losers
lounge will be
lounges.
back
You
as
know,
well.
should we? I mean, I guess the post game show is kind of a losers lounge if the Knicks lose. But should we do any kind of a should we do a winner's circle or something like that?
I mean, we'll
Losers
talk
lounge
about it.
circle
Oh,
or something like that to see what the other team is saying, or maybe
okay,
get a
okay,
losers lounge. But now we're seeing what the other teams are saying about the Knicks, what the
okay.
other fans are saying about the Knicks or something like that.
I mean, we
You know
can
what I mean?
add it. We can
So,
add it in there.
we keep the losers lounge going.
I,
You
I'm not, listen. I'm not opposed to winning circle because I'm not a sore loser. You know what I mean? And if
or we can call it
and it,
sore loser. We can call
yeah,
it sore, call it sore loser.
there it
You
is.
got the losers lounge, and then you got sore
Sore
loser,
loser.
and that's that'd be us getting mad at what the other
They
team is saying
saying
about us.
fair enough. Give them their flowers. This man.
Sore
Yeah,
loser. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get somebody with a bad attitude up here, you know, uh, 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 to do, sore losers.
I like that. I like that. But yeah, man, we back, man. MBK for life. You know what we doing out here.
No doubt, baby.
See ya next time. Shout out
Peace.
to the chat. Your blackest time.